Hello and howdy everyone. Here to talk about the film The Hobbit 2, The Desolation of Smaug. And I enjoyed it. I'm slightly torn about what to give it. I think a 8 is fine. You know, I think it's a good, solid 8. I don't think it'll drop down. You know, I saw this... I suppose as Peter Jackson intended. I saw it in 3D, and for the first time I saw something with the high frame rate. I think the only things that exist in high frame rate are the Hobbit films. So this was... I didn't see the first Hobbit in the theater. I thought that... I'm not a Tolkien guy, and being a fan but not an obsessive of the Lord of the Rings trilogy films... I thought, well, I don't really need to take the time and money to go see this in the theater. So I waited till Blu-ray, and I thoroughly enjoyed the film. I believe I gave it an 8, and if I had seen it in the theater, a 9. But, you know, with that 3D and high frame rate. But I gave the first one an 8, and I think I have no problems giving this one a solid 8. As well. You know, I don't think it'll drop down any. The reason I'm not giving it a 9 is, or higher, is because it felt like it was spinning its wheels at some point. You know, even after Smaug, the dragon, is revealed, it still is this, like, stuck in neutral somewhat. You know, I expected that once Smaug got on the scene that, again, I'm not familiar with the story. I've never read The Hobbit. I kind of thought Smaug would be dealt with in this film. You know, he is not. That is one thing. When the film is over, I'm ready for the third one. You know, it was just like, what? That's the end? Oh my God. You know, let's go. Let's get that third one out, you know, soon. So it does leave you wanting more, definitely. But for a while, it just kind of felt like it was, again, in neutral, just spinning its wheels. There was some cheese, I thought, which is fine. You know, it is, you know, kind of goes hand in hand with cheese. Basically, every time that... Evangeline Lilly, I believe her name is, from Lost. Every time she was on the screen, I kind of laughed. I felt that, okay, I kind of wish that I do have a couple Tolkien fans in my life. One I would even consider a Tolkien obsessive, who refuses to see the films, at least in the, you know, pay to see them in the theater, because of Peter Jackson's adaptation of them, adding things that weren't in the novel. And he told me that, you know, the problems he had with the first film, with the first Hobbit, were all things that Peter Jackson added and that were not a part of Tolkien's work, and therefore, according to him, you know, unnecessary. So he didn't like it. In fact, it made him angry. And then when he had learned that he was adding characters, just characters that, you know, don't exist in Tolkien's work, namely Evangeline Lilly's character, as well as bringing Legolas, the elf played by Orlando Bloom. Apparently he's not in The Hobbit at all. I'm not certain about that, but according, you know, to my friend in my memory, Legolas is not in The Hobbit at all, but yet the elves and Legolas, and namely this female character played by Lily, is, you know, not in the novel, you know, whatsoever. So he again refused to see it on that, you know, merit. He's like, it's not Tolkien's work. Why, you know, why do I need to go see it? I had wished that I had not heard that, you know, passionate rebuke of the film, because that's all I could think about while I was watching their scenes, and it did feel tacked on. You know, it did feel like it was there to take up space, to take up time. And I usually found it cheesy because it's kind of all, romantic. And there's lots of like looking off into the distance and yearning. And I just found it all cheesy. And in fact, I laughed a lot. I wasn't laughing with it, I was laughing at it quite a bit, basically every time that Evangeline Lilly was on the screen doing something. I thought it was rather cheesy. But I can see where it fit into the story, again, trying to make it longer, make it longer. My same friend couldn't believe that they were making The Hobbit, which apparently is the shortest of Tolkien's works, into 3, undoubtedly nearly 3-hour movie. This is going to be a practically 9-hour story when all is said and done, and The Hobbit is not a 9-hour story. So he was upset that they didn't just make it 2 movies. Why not make it 2 3-hour movies, basically a 6-hour experience? Seems like that I can agree with that because it just feels stretched. What is amazing is, for a while there, I thought I was on a theme park ride. Again, this is my first experience with a high frame rate. It was, I guess, slightly different and unsettling for maybe 5 minutes. I kept on saying, wow, this looks totally weird and different, and I'm not going to like this. And after 5 minutes, I didn't even notice. In fact, I really appreciated the clarity. It was just crystal clear. Sharp with a capital sh, and it, I guess, forces the animation, the computer graphics to be, bar none. Smaug looked amazing. All of the special effects looked amazing. That was actually happening when logic tells me, well, this is all, a cartoon. But yet it felt real. And I think that high frame rate, that brightness, makes them, do the best that they possibly can, and it looks amazing. And it did. I've ridden on the King Kong ride that Peter Jackson directed for Universal Studios, and there's a couple scenes in here that remind me exactly of going on that theme park ride. So anytime you can sit in a movie theater and feel like you're on a theme park roller coaster, then that's pretty good. That's impressive. And I did feel that way. The action sequences are ridiculous. Physics and luck, are just kind of tossed aside. Well, I mean, maybe not luck. Luck is like embraced. It's just like, who is that lucky? Who is that lucky? And but again, when you're watching a story that takes place in Middle Earth and has dragons and orcs and whatever, you just have to go with it. If you accept the big lie, you have to accept the little lies as well. So the special effects were amazing. The action sequences were, thrilling. I was on the edge of my seat there for a while. It was very intense. But yet, then it would not be, and it would slow down. Again, I think the first film kind of handled character development and introducing all of these characters. I definitely could have used more Gandalf. Ian McKellen as Gandalf is here. Not as much as I would have liked. I suppose he'll be dominant in the third movie. But again, what he does is cool, and you get to see, I guess, some good prequel goodness for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, with Sauron making his appearance. But I just could have used more Ian McKellen, basically, because he's an awesome actor. And he just kind of was there, and, then they get focused on another part of the story, and I kind of forget about him, and then they go back to him for a couple of minutes. I'm like, oh, okay, he's back. He's back. Again, it just feels stretched. It feels stretched. I think that this could have easily been a 6-hour experience rather than a 9-hour experience when all is said and done. If you just made 2 3-hour movies, seems like it probably could have, been okay. Let's see. Martin Freeman plays Bilbo. Who else is in it? There's recognizable faces. A lot are buried under makeup or motion capture. Benedict Cumberbatch is Smaug. He's great. I mean, he did some motion capture for this. He's also the voice. He's a consummate actor. So he's good here. And Smaug is just kind of amazing. It's just awesome to watch him, crawl around and speak, and he felt like a living, breathing, creature that, they just happened to find for this movie instead of just, again, this creation of probably several hundred animators. So again, it was just visually impressive, just totally impressive. In terms of production design, wardrobe, makeup, it's just, nail on the head. It just is fantastic, as you would expect, now from Peter Jackson and his Lord of the Rings movies. I think I've said my piece. I enjoyed it, I definitely enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I've enjoyed this whole Hobbit trilogy, and maybe a reason why is because it's taking its time and explaining all of these, characters in detail, and I'm really feeling like I'm getting to know them. But where I thought Lord of the Rings may be just too condensed. I mean, if they're making The Hobbit, the shortest of, the Lord of the Rings works into 3 movies, why couldn't they have done that with each Lord of the Rings book? Why not make 9 movies about the Lord of the Rings? I don't know. And take your time. I really enjoyed the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but if there's one thing that I have against it, it's bit, you've got tons of people in there, and I didn't care, all the time about every one of them. That's not so much the case here, with the Hobbit films. I feel like I have gotten to know the characters, and I feel that, I care, for, some reason or another. So yeah, okay, I think I've pretty much said my piece there. So yeah, okay. So that's The Hobbit 2, The Desolation of Smaug, and I give it a solid 8. Thanks much.